Hello again. Another brew day. Today I'm going to try something a little bit different. I'm going to be brewing a sour. Never made one before. Never soured a beer. Other than by using some sour malts, some acid malts. But what I'm going to try doing now is actually souring the beer by using lacto. Now I'm going to use some yogurt culture for my lacto to do the souring. I went to my home brew store. They were out of the Y Yeast and White Labs lacto blend, so I'm going to try something a little bit different. Talked to a local brewer, and they were trying to do some souring with lacto, and they've had pretty good luck with it. So anyway, that's what's going to happen. Okay, all right. Along with the new hot liquor tank I got over here, I'm going to try some techniques that I've never used before. A couple of them I'm coming up with myself, so I don't know if they're going to work really. One of the things I'm going to do to sour the beer is I'm going to do a standard mash, put it over into the boil kettle, bring it up to almost boiling, not quite, like 190 degrees, then chill it back down to about 120 degrees, and then I'm going to add my yeast to it, the lacto to it, not yeast. Again, I'm using yogurt, Chobani Greek yogurt. It's got some cultures that are growing live in it. Right now I've got that yogurt in a starter. Just took a tablespoon of yogurt, put it in a quart starter jar with some DME. And it's been going for about 12 hours now. By the time I pitch it, it's going to be 24 to 36 hours. Now, when you sour a beer, from what I've read, you like to keep the temperature of the wort when you add the lacto at somewhere around 120 degrees, so the Lactobaccillus grows properly and gets a good hold and sours like you want it. I don't really have a way to temperature control my boil kettle without turning on the element that's inside the boil kettle, just like you would for a standard boil. Well, I'm concerned that when I do that, if the element is going on and off, it's going to touch all the wort and it's going to kill the yeast, that's the lacto culture. So I want to come up with a different way of keeping the wort at 120 degrees. Well, I'm not sure this is going to work, but essentially what I'm going to do is a Herm system for my wort, except instead of wort going through the Herm's chiller or Herm's heater, what I'm going to use is my immersion chiller, and I'm going to put water through my immersion chiller, except I'm going to use this as an immersion heater. What I'll do is I'll keep my hot liquor tank temperature of the water. I'll put some water in there, keep it at about 125 degrees, give or take. I'll pump it through my immersion chiller for however long it takes, and I'm going to hook my temperature controller that's in my boil kettle up, and I'm going to use that to control a 120 volt pump, so that whenever it gets below the 120 degree mark, it turns on the pump circulates the 120 degree water inside of the wort and heats it up. I think this will work, but again, I've never done it before, so it's going to be kind of an experimental process. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get started mashing in and get this show on the road. All doughed in, everything's working like it should. It's been about 15 minutes now. Right now, I've got it running at 122 degrees. I'm doing my protein rest. It's going to sit there for about 30 minutes. And then after 30 minutes, I'm going to bump it up to 145 degrees for the saccharification rest, and it's going to mash there for about 75 minutes. Finally, at the end of that 75-minute period, I'll mash it out at 168 for 10 minutes, and then transfer everything over to the boil kettle, where, as I mentioned before, I'll just kick it right up to almost boiling, and then chill it down and add my Lactobaccillus stuff. Anyway, just a quick going over my recipe for this. I've got an 8-gallon batch, and I've used 4 pounds of Pilsner, 4 pounds of wheat malt, and 8 ounces of acid malt. Now I've also, since my water here is at a certain point, I've added a half a teaspoon of lactic acid and another half a teaspoon of calcium chloride. I do have essentially double filtered water. It's street water. I go through a whole house filter, and then I've got this filter here that I got off of a ice and water machine that was only used very little, but the machine was moved and had to put a new one on it. So from what I understand, the new one this one couldn't fit, and they had to put a new one that would fit. So it's hardly been used. So I've got decent filtering. I typically have soft water in my house, but I've bypassed that so I can get some decent brew water. Anyway, let me show you how things are working. Alright, as you can see, I've got my mash tun closed on top. Rim system is the left-hand temperature controller. It's doing 123 degrees. The liquid coming out of the top of the rims. You can see the temperature sensor right there below the top. Comes down, goes into the mash tun, and there we have it spinning around. Sparging. So you got nice good recirculation going. Looking pretty good. I do notice that it does say my internal temperature's a little high, but I'm confident that if my 123 degree wort coming out of that sparge arm is right, that I'm right where I need to be. So we'll move on. Okay, just put enough water in my hot liquor tank for my fly sparge. I need about 9 gallons, and I stepped the mash up to the next step. It's right now sitting at 149 degrees, still working with the rims. It took it about 15 minutes for it to go from 122 up to 149, and now it's going to mash there for about 75 minutes. And I'm already, according to my timer, about 15 minutes into that, so another hour or so, and then I'll be ready to mash out, sparge it, do my quick almost boil, and then I'll be done for the day. Well, the mash is complete. I've raised it up to the temperature. I did a mash out at 168 degrees, and now I'm sparging, I'm fly sparging with about 9 gallons of water. You can see it comes out of my hot liquor tank, into the pump, through the rims, and out into my mash tun. At the bottom of the mash tun here, I've got a tube going out to my chugger and into the bottom of my boil kettle. Got the boil kettle temperature set at 205 so that it doesn't overboil. It doesn't really reach a boil, not overboil, but I don't want to boil it for long at all. I just want to get it up to the boil to do a quick pasteurization and then shut it down. I don't want a hot break forming or anything like that, because that'll happen after I sour the beer. I'm going to sour the beer, then after it's soured for a couple days and I think it tastes okay, then I'll go through the regular boil. Boil it, add hops, do all the normal stuff, chill it back down, stick it in a fermenter to ferment out with just standard ale yeast. So there you have it. Wish me luck. I'll come back and show you how I've got the immersion chiller set up as an inside Herm system, so to speak, and we'll see how that works. A reverse Herm system, if you will. So let's stop back. Alright, pretty much done brewing now, and I've got my reverse Herm system all set up to go. Got my immersion coil here, hot liquor tank here, pump, a sparge arm going in there, some recirculation arm going into the top of my hot liquor tank. And over here, I've got two temperature controllers. One of the temperature controllers is set for the temperature on the tank up here, and one is set for the temperature on the tank down here. This tank is going to stay at a constant 125 degrees. This tank is set for 120 degrees, which is the temperature that I want my wort to be at, so that the lacto takes hold and gets going. And what happens is when this goes below 120 degrees, it's going to go from the controller over here, and I've got my pump here plugged into the controller. So what's going to happen is, instead of turning on a heating element, it's going to turn on the pump, which is going to transfer the heat from the hot liquor tank through the immersion chiller into the wort down here without ever touching the wort. So far it looks like it's doing pretty good. When I started out, my wort was at about 88 degrees. Now it's up to 107 degrees, and it's only been about 20 minutes or 25 minutes. The hot liquor tank is staying constant at 125 degrees, and everything's working really well. So there you have it. Hope you appreciated what I've done here and enjoy watching the videos. I'm actually on the way to a beer club meeting, so I will take my leave. Cheers. Have a great day. All right, fast forward about 7 days. Last Saturday night, as I mentioned a little bit before, I put some yogurt in my brew to sour it. I expected the souring process to go really quickly. It hasn't. I added 2 tubs of Greek yogurt that had active Lactobaccillus cultures in it, and put it in there, and I've been using little test strips to check the pH of it. I'm expecting the pH to go below 4.0 to around 3.9, 3.8, hopefully 3.5 or 3.6, but it has not gotten there. So I've been messing with the temperature. I started out with the temperature at about 120 degrees, left it there for a couple days. Nothing. I mean, I could taste slight souring, but I didn't know if that wasn't the acid malt that I brewed with. So I looked on some blogs and posted some questions, and one guy suggested that since it was yogurt cultures, that I lower the temperature to about 95 degrees. I did that. Didn't really seem to do a whole lot, but I left it there for a couple days. I went ahead and added 1 more tub of yogurt on Wednesday or Tuesday, and kept an eye on it. Yesterday I took a look, and it did have a film of bubbles on the top of it, so something must have been happening. And I could smell sour, but the pH has not changed at all. So I'm leaving it for 1 more day. Tomorrow and Sunday, I'm going to go ahead and boil it regardless. It does taste a little bit soury. I can open up the lid and smell it, and it smells soury. And there is a film on top. It's okay. It's cloudy mainly because of the yogurt cultures that are in it. And, I did last night add a couple more tablespoons of yogurt. I released some of the wort, stirred it around into the yogurt so it was nice and diluted, or not diluted, but I didn't have really pieces of yogurt in there. I distributed it as a liquid, put it back in there. It still smells pretty sour this morning, but the pH is not where I think it should be. Anyway, let me show you what it looks like. You'll notice, of course, that I've got a blanket up on top around my hot liquor tank, another packing blanket around my boil kettle / souring vessel. I think the camera's in a good spot right now. What I'll do is I'll flip the lid back a bit. And tell you what, let me bring the camera in here and I'll show you the inside of it. You'll notice there's the bubbling on the top of the wort, and it's kind of nasty looking, but that's okay. I think it's supposed to be that way. Put it back down, come back a little bit. All right. Okay, I'm going to take a sample. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and test the pH of that sample. According to the strips, keep it in for a couple seconds. And I'm going to hold. Okay. If you look, and I don't know if I'm trying to get this to where it'll focus. There's 4.0, and there's my sample. There's 4.4. So it's a little lighter than the 4.0, but not as light as the 3.6. So it's somewhere in the middle of here, I think. And I'm sorry if you can't really see that. It's not very well focused. But that's what I'm looking for. I've gone through about a dozen test strips, testing this over and over and over and over. And I tell you, I'm getting tired of wasting them. Luckily they're cheap, so it's not a big deal. And let me put back here. Okay, so one thing I have done is, as I've been doing testing and things like that, I've been putting a blanket of CO2 in here so that I don't get things growing that I don't want growing. So I'll put this in here for 8 or 10 seconds. Every time I open the lid, the up-down motion of the lid, I'm sure, pushes air out of it. So I want that air to be CO2. Okay. I can smell sour out here. Smell it here. It's tasting somewhat more sour than it has in the past. I think I'm going to give it one more day. Check back tomorrow when I'm ready to boil. Wrap it back up. And right now I've got the temperature set at 100 degrees. And as I mentioned before, the pump, hot liquor tank, wort chillers converted into a wort heater, works really well. Cheers. Alright, done souring. I checked my pH level, and based on the colors on my chart here, it's somewhere between 3.6 and 4.0. I was shooting for 3.9 or below, so I'm done. I also read on a blog that you really don't want to sour more than 4 or 5 days, and it's been going 7 days, so I think enough is enough. So I've got it boiling right now, and I'll bring the camera over here. Got my hop screen and got a nice big boil. Hop screen I won at a contest last week in a raffle, and I'm kind of excited to use that. But anyway, time to put some hops in. I'm going to put in about 0.7 ounces of German Hallertau, and that'll do it. So we'll check back in a little bit. Time to put the hops in. Got them all measured out. Hop screen. Go ahead and dump them in. And there we go. Let's see what the boil does here with those hops in there. See. Didn't really do much to the boil, but now it's going to boil for about an hour till I get down to my post-boil volume and check the gravity, and then we'll be ready to chill. Been whirlpooling for a while. Got everything chilled down. The temperature over there says it's at 66.1. So I chilled while I was whirlpooling. Now I'm putting it into my fermenter. I'll take a shot at the kettle when it gets down to the bottom. It should be in about a minute or so. Okay, just about done. Probably about a half a gallon of wort left to transfer. Getting down to the bottom. Okay, we're getting down to the bottom of the fermenter. It's about a half a gallon left to transfer. You can see the intake tube there, just about at the bottom, and here we go. Notice in the center, all kinds of, not a lot of crud, but some crud. And so the whirlpooling did have some effect. I'm getting ready to pitch my yeast, and I just took the yeast out of the fridge where I had my starter crashing, and right now I'm oxygenating the wort. I've got a aquarium pump with an aquarium stone. Stick it down in the wort there, and it's making this foam on top. I don't have an oxygen tank to do this, so I do the next best thing, which is the aquarium pump. Does a good job, and you just have to leave it in a little longer. It would be better if I had pure oxygen, but I breathe oxygen, so, and it's pretty clear, clean. It's supposed to have a HEPA filter on the pump itself, so be pitching the yeast in about 15-20 minutes when it's warmed up a little bit. Yep, there you have it. Well, there you have it. All chilled, put in a fermenter, airlock on it, yeast pitched. Now it's just a matter of waiting for the yeast to do its magic. Pitched it about 2 hours ago, so there's nothing going on yet, really. Can kinda see through it. It's got some time to wait, but maybe by tomorrow I'll see some activity. Well, thanks for watching this video. Cheers.